My name is Vernae Taylor, and I grew up in Summit, New Jersey, born and raised. I love to laugh with my friends. I love to go to the movies. But recently, I became a published author. The Breakthrough. One of my best friends says it's insightful, it's inspiring, it's relatable. I mean, that meant so much to me that she said this about me, knowing me. But for you, it's going to be an up-close view of my challenges, my struggles, everything that I've been through, and how I made it out on the other side. So I believe that we are all breaking through, and I want you to break through too. So pick it up so it can change your life. And I've had choices that turned me into the woman that I am today. I managed to break past and break through all of those hard times. And this is true too. With the amazing group of authors I've asked to join me in the Breakthrough.
Welcome back. You are listening to our Breakthrough Podcast, and I'm your host, Vernae Taylor, and we've got a treat for you today. Fellas, this is for you. Ladies, if you have a special king in your life, whether it be a brother, uncle, your spouse, I need you to grab them because this is going to be incredible as we have this young man to get today that is going to drop some gems to motivate and inspire you in such a special way. But for those that are just joining us for the first time, we are the safe space that we can come together and give you the breakthrough map to go from breakdown to breakthrough, from pain to purpose, from your past to living your greatest story. So make sure you like and subscribe and stay locked in as we have an incredible guest today, LeVar Thomas. How are you today?
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm wonderful. I'm so happy that you're here, that I got you. Okay, and I don't know about y'all guys, but look him up, Google him. He's TED famous, and we have him here on our Breakthrough Podcast. So first off, let me ask you, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. I am the co-founder of Leaders of the Free World, which is an international youth leadership organization for young Black men. We take young guys to Ghana, West Africa, where we explore different themes in leadership, but more importantly, helping them to rewrite a narrative of what's possible for themselves and helping them to not only identify their purpose and their gifts, but being able to impact communities both locally and around the world. And I also created Empower for Greatness, which is my speaking platform where I work with organizations, young leaders, entrepreneurs who are all aspiring to scale globally, have an impact, but really transform the lives of other people. So that's what I do. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. And
okay, shout out to New York. I'm Jersey, so we right there, East Coast.
Yeah, so that's what I feel like my God-given purpose is, to inspire the lives of other people.
Man, you said a lot. First of all, we talk about international. You talking about the motherland. You talking about, the youth, inspiring them to transformation. And I love that you said rewriting the narrative for themselves, because that's what we're doing here with our Breakthrough Podcast, giving people the power, or telling people, listen, you have that power within you to rewrite your story, right? So we know how some of us started out. We didn't start out so great, or maybe our parents weren't so great, or maybe they didn't have the greatest of resources. But now that we have the better resources and we know better, it's like we do better, right? So we can take that story back and make it our own. So that is beautiful. You are doing like major stuff in this industry and in life. And so tell us how it all started for you. This kid from Brooklyn that says, okay, I'm going from Brooklyn to Ghana. Like, I don't think a lot of kids even think about that in their minds. Like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. Or how about I'm not just going to go, I'm going to take people with me. So let's start back in the beginning of when, it started for you, as far as you like coming up with this vision of yourself and what you want to do.
Yeah, great question. It really started, I grew up in Brownsville in Brooklyn. Those who may not know, is where it's where Mike Tyson grew up.
Okay.
Quite rough community.
Oh, so, wow. Okay. Because I'm not too familiar.
Yeah. So I didn't always have examples around me of other men traveling the world and doing leadership work, or just leaving the community. My family background, I'm Guyanese. So my family, South America. So I've been to Guyana, and really, when I was in high school, there was a retired teacher who had an exchange program. He was taking students to Europe. So I was a part of this organization called Key Club. And
Okay.
that particular sophomore year, he was taking students to Spain. So I told my family about it.
Wow.
I'm like, yo, this teacher's taking folks to Spain. Like, I want to go. So,
Yeah.
sometimes in high school, parents are like, I don't want you traveling out the country by yourself. My family was like,
You're right.
go ahead, like, take it.
Oh, good. So they
Yeah,
pushed you.
they
Yes.
pushed. So my dad wrote the check. He was like, hey.
That's what's up. Okay, Daddy.
So
Write
I'm
the
like,
checks.
it was really the first time I left the country at 16 to go to Spain. And I stayed with the family for a week, and it was total culture shock. I mean, I
Wow.
thought I thought I was learning something in my public school Spanish, but when I'm
Yes.
in the house and they speak Spain Spanish, and I'm just sitting down like,
Spanish. You're so silly.
like they speaking that legit Spanish. I'm like, wow, this is culture shock. You could imagine as a 16-year-old out
Yes.
for the first time in a house with strangers speaking a different language. I'm like, this is crazy.
Oh,
But
man.
what that did, it planted a seed for me that like the world is much bigger than Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
I'm like, whoa, there's something bigger than my neighborhood. So the next year I ended up going to Italy, and then my senior year I ended up going to France.
Oh my goodness. And is this all through the Key Club?
Yeah, the professor.
Man, this is a dope club. Is it still in existence today?
Yeah,
Okay.
he still does international work, but I'm not with the pandemic and everything going on. I'm not sure
Right.
how active it is. So that was really the seeds being planted, that like the international seeds back then that I didn't realize were being planted. So when I graduated from high school, I got rejected from probably most of the colleges I had applied to.
Really? Oh my goodness. Shame on you. What colleges are those?
I'm not gonna
Real
air them
bad
out.
at them.
I'm not gonna air them out, but like I wasn't always the greatest at standardized exams.
Oh,
I applied to
I
college,
know. Tell me about it.
yeah, and got denied. So you can imagine going from this like great, profound experience to like waiting to hear back from your acceptance letters and you getting rejected. So
Wow.
talk about a dark time in my life. And at the same time, that particular season, my dad had a heart attack on the job.
Oh man.
So life kind of just like
Shift. Yeah.
shifted really quickly. And now I'm like, what am I going to do next? I have all these cool experiences. I've traveled the world. My grades are pretty decent, but then my back is against the wall with this reality of like, man, is this what it feels like to be failed through a system where you do the
Mm.
things and like
Wow.
not be met with the outcomes that you're looking for?
That part.
So it was like, whoa. But I had it's interesting how God places people in our lives.
Hmm.
It was that my high school college counselor, she was like, LeVar, like, there's this person I know at the community college who like can help you if you're looking to, make the next step. And I can give her a call. I'll tell her about you. She thinks that you'll be a good person for this honors program.
Yeah.
By all means, like, go ahead. And I interviewed for the program. They accepted me on the spot.
Oh my goodness. What was the name of that program, if you remember?
It was called the Presidential Scholars Honors Program.
Well,
And
honey, that sounds prestigious. I'll
yeah,
take it.
and she was
For
welcoming-
someone that's been rejected. Like, what? This is amazing.
absolutely. And when I tell you, it changed the trajectory of my life. Because I mean, I'm 18 on this community college campus. I wasn't happy because I felt like all my other friends are going away to college, and now I'm like
Okay.
in
Yeah.
community college. So it felt like, man, like I failed. But really, it was like Oprah says that failure is life just redirecting you.
Yeah, Oprah. She got away with words, doesn't she?
Yeah, I'm like, what? Like, yes, life is redirecting me, and tell you not, the connections I made in community college at Kingsborough, I ended up going to Germany.
Through the Kingsborough Community College. Now, what
Yeah,
program was that? I tell you, this
so,
international stuff just finds you, right? It just
yeah,
attaches itself to you.
Yeah, there was a program called the Global Citizenship Seminar, and basically you had to like write an application and uh, and take a class, and I got selected for it. So we went to
Nice.
Salzburg, Austria, where they filmed The Sound of Music for 1 week, and we're like in this castle, learning about global citizenship and learning about globalization and having global impact and all these different things. And I'm like,
Man,
whoa, like I didn't think I would have this experience
at
in my
community
first,
college.
you know what I'm saying? So like these were all like life's seeds being dropped along my journey, which I didn't understand back then. I couldn't understand like why I had to go through that, why I had to be rejected, and to think now, my organization focuses on community college students.
Yeah.
We're helping people at you know transition and really getting to leadership and you know make that shift. It's like I had to go through that so I can have the not just mental knowledge but
Mm.
experience of
Yeah, yeah, because you went through it. So
yeah.
you didn't even realize you were building the foundation for what was to come. I mean, it's so beautiful that all of these experiences and these opportunities, I mean, these are massive opportunities. A lot of kids, like you say, they don't even leave their block, let alone their city, let alone their state or their country, right? And so somehow these opportunities are finding you, and talk about purpose. Like, for you now to be doing this and kind of paying it back to the block and giving it back to other people. So you're 18 now. I mean, I lost count of all the places that you've seen and been to. I thought I was popping when I went to London for my senior year, but that was about it. So you got me beat. So now you're 18. You said you were at a castle. You're learning about global citizenship and just global impact. What now? Because what happened after graduation? Was there ever a moment of self-doubt? Was there ever a moment of like, wow, there's this incredible pressure because I've done so many great things that it's like, oh gosh, how do I top it? So what was going through your mind as you're transitioning now into real life? Because we know that college campus and college life is so different from the real world. And I don't feel like a lot of times our educational system really truly prepares us in a practical sense of what life is going to give us or hand us. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I was at community college, um, I learned the power of networking.
Oh, look at
that
you.
that
Yeah.
was that was the grassroots classroom of understanding how to introduce myself to other people. And I remember one of my good friends from Ghana, he was attending school at the time, and he's like, "Yo, you need to introduce yourself to the provost because he's somebody that you need to know. He's somebody that you want to have
Nice.
your name in his mind when he's thinking of opportunity." So I remember just like walking up into his office and saying, "Hey, Dr. Fakari, my name is LeVar Thomas. I'm sure you may not have heard about me, but I graduated from Abraham Lincoln High School and just really told my
Wow.
story. And like I'm 18, but that was really
Yeah.
the first pitch of me to this guy.
Yes, your first elevator pitch. And you were
Yeah,
like a baby. I don't even think I knew what networking was. I'm like, that's amazing.
and he was like, "LeVar, like, I really like you. There's this program called the Kappa Leadership Program. If you get in, they'll pay for you to do your bachelor's degree."
Come on, somebody.
Yeah, so
That's amazing.
I I applied and they worked with me, and I ended up getting accepted.
Wow. So where did you go? Where did you decide? You could pick anything, anywhere, or there were specific places that were in the program?
So basically, they had schools affiliated with the program, but like now instead of me thinking about I'm gonna go to, just a school in the city, they're like, you can go to Harvard, you can go to Yale.
Nice.
So this world opened up
Yeah.
for me. But you could imagine the self doubt kicking back in after my initial experience with getting rejected.
Yeah.
So I really started questioning myself. I can't apply to these schools. Like they're not gonna. Um, I gotta retake standardized exam. I gotta take this SAT again. Like,
I know. Ugh, you can't pay me
so
to do that.
oh my gosh. Yeah. So all of these thoughts started kicking back in, and I ended up transferring to Clark University in Massachusetts.
Oh, shout out to Clark.
Yeah, and it was hard because it was a world that I was never trained to operate in. Going from
Mm,
college that's so diverse, like it was like the UN at that school.
wow.
To go to a
Okay.
predominantly white institution where I remember sitting in the dining hall and I was the only one that looked like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember at the time the dean of students was a black woman, and I saw her sitting down in there. I'm like, "Can I sit next to you? Let's,
Oh,
let's have lunch. Let's talk." I didn't know who she was. I just saw another black person.
wow. But that took courage to, like, again, introduce yourself, put yourself out there, and make the connection. So you guys sat together.
Sat together, and from that day, she became a part of my success ecosystem. It
Oh
was
man.
it was the support system that I needed, and that's when I was learning, like, how do you go into a new environment, cultivate relationships, and build a support system around you?
Right.
Because that's the key to success. Like having people who are looking out for you, having people who understand a particular system that can help you navigate the nuances of it. You know,
Yeah.
that's what she did, and she connected me to other people, and then it's interesting. So I transferred. So as a transfer student, it's much different from someone who starts off their first year out of school.
Okay.
I was struggling, and my roommate at the time was also a transfer student.
Okay. So that's
So
kind of good, right?
yeah, it was a lot of support. And then the president of the school had office hours.
Nice.
So I told him, like, yo, we here struggling. I'm studying. I'm still failing these quizzes.
Mm,
I can't keep up with the work. I'm staying up till 2 in the morning just to get a chapter done, and I'm not getting it. And
yeah.
they call that transfer shock when you go from community college to a 4 year school.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
And I said, you know what? I'm a I'm gonna walk up to the president's office and I'm gonna tell him about this my experience.
Yes.
It needs to be addressed. And my roommate thought I was joking. Literally the next day I woke up.
He was like, man, this boy is crazy. But you really did it. Oh my goodness. Talk about that conversation.
Yeah, and I went to his office, introduced myself, told who I was, where I came from, and that turned into me creating a transfer organization on the campus.
Oh my gosh, LeVar. Like, ugh, you're just amazing. What was the name of, like, the club or the program that you created?
It was called the Transfer Student Association. So I
Wow.
was really trying to help other students who were transfers who may not feel empowered to create a shift. And I was struggling. I'm like, I can't be the only one struggling. Like, there has to be other people here that's going through the same experience,
Mm-hmm.
but may not know how to navigate it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
let's change the narrative now, right? Let's
Yeah.
shift. And yeah, I believe God placed that spirit in me. Like, yo, what you don't like, try to change it. You know,
Man.
if it's wrong,
Wow.
don't sit back and accept it, but like do something about it. And I feel like those skills have translated to the real world for me because
Mm-hmm.
being an entrepreneur, I didn't
Yeah.
know I didn't know about it back then. I'm like, I'm just here trying to like address these problems that I'm seeing
Right.
and I'm frustrated about. But then my ability to network, introduce myself, ask questions, helped me to be, where I am today.
Absolutely. And you talk about entrepreneurship. I'm glad that you introduced that to the conversation, because when they say small business owners or people that are innovative, the first thing is really targeting a problem. And this is what you said. A lot of your purpose came out of addressing a problem that you had and maybe not having the resources to get the help you needed. So you became the help and then you become the plug for everyone else. So that is spectacular. So now you're settling in, you are creating, you're innovating, new programs, new pathways to empower other people, because I heard you say that as well. Like you said, they don't feel empowered. And then we know in the future you have your brand in your company that has that same plug in there and that same buzzword, empower. So talk about when you knew, okay, this is my life, this is my life's purpose, this is my life's assignment, and now I'm going to go out and create and do it for myself and for others. And so talk about that when it, your pathway to entrepreneurship.
I'm glad you asked that. So that moment for me happened in 2015. I
Okay.
served in the Peace Corps in Rwanda, East Africa. So I lived in Rwanda from 2014 to 2016.
Oh
As a
my goodness. Well, first of all, how did you get there? Oh my gosh, we can't
yeah,
just skate past that. Okay. Like, oh yeah, by
yeah.
the way, I just decided to like drop in for 2 years. Like, how did you get there? It's crazy.
So my last year at Clark, one of my mentors who was in the political science department, he was leaving to go to teach at another institution.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm like freaking out because I'm like, yo, dude, you like a huge part of my
Right.
support.
Where you going? I gotta go with you.
If you leaving, like I need to graduate. So he's like, listen, if you take this one class, you can graduate in 2 years instead of 3 years. So
Oh, that's
I
what's up.
yes, I mean like I was trying to do the most. I was double majoring and stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna drop in that tomorrow. I'm out, you know. So the other political science professor in the department, she became my supervisor after he left, and she did Peace Corps in Jordan.
Okay.
And I thought it was interesting because at that point of my life, I felt like everybody was telling me what I should be doing with my life. Like, LeVar, you gonna come back to New York? I'm like, I refuse to go back.
Really? That's what they were saying?
Like,
Well,
yeah,
you have seen the
like
world, and they telling
what are
you to
you
come
gonna
to Brooklyn.
what are you gonna do with a political science degree? That was the number one question. Are you gonna go to grad school? Because you need to go to grad school for that. How are you gonna find a job? Um, so here I am. I'm looking at jobs. I'm applying to grad. I'm trying to do everything.
Wow.
And when she told me about her experience going to Jordan, she was like, when I was graduating from college, I was in a similar situation where everyone was kind of telling me what I should be doing or what I need to be doing.
Mm.
And she did Peace Corps and started teaching English um, in Jordan and fell in love with Middle Eastern politics. And that's how she, decided to go to grad school for Middle Eastern politics, then get her PhD, and that's how she was teaching it.
Man,
So I'm like, yo, that's such
beautiful.
a dope path to take.
That
Like,
is beautiful.
so I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to like create my own path and like, find my voice. So when I applied, I was hoping to go to Guyana because there's Peace Corps in Guyana.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get to connect with my family and help.
Right. Go back to your home.
Absolutely. And then I see Rwanda. And literally at the time I was working at the State House in Boston when I got that email about going to Rwanda. And I'm like, whoa, like talk about another moment where like your life gets flipped upside down. I mean,
Choices, choices.
yeah. Now I'm scared. I'm like, do I really go? Like, I'm making a little bit of money now. Do I want to go volunteer for 2 years and like leave friends and family and stuff? And I'm like,
Oh man.
but then every time I speak to somebody, they were like, oh my gosh, like I always wanted to do the Peace Corps, but never got the chance to. Oh,
Mm.
I wanted to do Peace Corps, but the things didn't align right. Oh, I always wanted to. I always wanted to. I'm like, I do not want to be someone
Right.
always wanted to do something and never did it.
Okay.
And so like that's what led me to do the Peace Corps.
Mm.
And to go back to your question about what was the moment, I was a part of a leadership camp for 2 weeks. The first called Glow and B Camp. And
Okay.
GLOW stands for Girls Leading Our World, and B stands for Boys Excelling.
Oh, I love it.
So these two camps were like 2 weeks, separate weeks. So the first week was the boys, and the second was the girls. And I remember we were just talking to um, these students about like their self worth and their power,
Mm.
and one particular evening, we had like a small gathering with it was about like 200 students, but then we had like a small group, like 30 students in one of the classrooms, and we were talking. And one of the girls said, why do they think we're animals?
Oh no. Wow.
And like it broke
Mm.
my heart. Like when I say tears were coming down my face, and I'm like, wow, like that's a deeply rooted idea
Yeah.
that young lady thinks about herself. And
Right.
I'm like, who told you that? Like that's not
I
true.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the media and all these things that really project messages about the continent of Africa and what people are like, and like
Yeah. Oof.
so in that moment, me and my colleague Michelle, who we served together, we were just empowering them and really getting them to understand their purpose and like really who God was calling them to be. And literally, so Rwanda went through a genocide in '94.
Okay.
So like people don't really, it's not culturally like appropriate for people to express emotions in public. Like it's not a part
Okay.
of the culture. And literally in this room, like we came around in a circle and we started like just speaking life to these students.
Oh, I can
You,
picture it.
you saw tears just hitting the floor one by it was like
Mm.
it it was the most bizarre thing I ever been a part of. Like I saw tears just dropping, like it was just like popcorning in the circle,
Wow.
hitting the ground. And it was that moment when I realized it was my life's work.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I have chills thinking about that.
It was
Just the
like
picturing that.
I'm like goosebumps and like I'm like to hear students tell me like, yo, they they feel like the chains of their minds have been unlocked.
Mm. That's amazing.
You know, to till this day they message me almost
Oh.
every other week. I get messages from students from back then that like, thank you so much for helping me. Like you, and to see that
Oh
they're
my gosh.
graduating and like
That's
it's amazing.
everything.
So that's what made me realize that like this is my life's work and I have to I have to do it. You know.
Oh man, oh man. This is so good, good. And we gotta get to like what you're doing now, currently up to date. But oh my gosh, you have said so much. I just want to make sure people are picking up what you're putting down. First of all, innovation, the power of networking, having the courage to introduce yourself, getting outside of your comfort zone. Everything about your life, every step and every stage that you just took us through has been outside of your comfort zone. I would imagine from anybody I know that's from New York or from a borough of New York or from Brooklyn, or anything, anywhere outside of their normal community has been outside of your comfort zone. From your transition to the community college to a 4-year college, to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and accelerate that. Like, you taking these chances and taking these risks and finding people along the way, the power of mentorship. I mean, there's so many things that you're speaking of. Like, you really leveraged your college career in ways that I don't even think I truly leveraged. And I went straight to a 4-year university, right? And I did it for everybody else. So it's amazing to see how intentional you were in everything that you were doing, to this aha moment, is like what Oprah would say,
Yeah.
this defining moment that I got chills when you're telling me. So I imagine those that are listening are going to get chills about when you just knew this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. So when did you shift to LeVar Thomas, with Empower to Greatness and with everything that you're doing, and helping youth and you facilitating, these programs and your work, and then, having a team, to kind of answer to you. Talk about how you shifted to your business and your organization.
Yeah. So another great question. Um, so my in 2016 February, I was at a retreat in the Peace Corps, and it was like my last 6 months in Rwanda, and I had a dream of starting Leaders of the Free World.
Ooh,
It was so vivid that I couldn't sleep.
okay.
Um, I remember like the year prior, 2015, I had flew back to the U.S. to visit my family, and I had a layover in Istanbul, Turkey. And I remember going through customs, and this lady is looking at my passport and looking at me, looking at my passport, looking at me, like, what are you doing here? And
Oh,
it was so long that I ended up missing my flight.
wow.
So now I'm in Turkey, don't know any
Oh,
don't know
oh
anyone.
my gosh. I'm like, I don't even know. Are there black people in
Like,
Turkey?
no, so I'm like in the line trying to go to customer service. No one really wanted to help me. And I'm like, this is the problem. Like when we travel, like we we need to travel in such large numbers where we're like doctors and lawyers and entrepreneurs and like we're not just athletes and we're changing the narrative globally,
Yeah. Whew,
you
that
know?
part.
And
Found.
so literally that vision was there. So I got tagged in a face so fast track back to February. I got tagged in a Facebook post um, from this woman who was like looking for black males to share their travel stories.
Mm-hmm.
And really trying to get the narrative out of like, there's a lot of black men out there in the world who's traveling.
Yeah, doing big things.
Yeah, so I got tagged, and then um, when I was reading up about her organization, come to find out that like it was the same vision that I had.
In the dream?
Yes. So my service finished in July, and I was planning on going to Ghana because one of my good friends from community college I mentioned earlier, he had ran for parliament in Ghana and almost
Oh
won.
my goodness. Listen, yo. So you are like, you big time. You attach to people that are big time and big deals. This is amazing. Your life is
So,
an adventure. I'm like, we're on an adventure right now.
so I was already planning on going to Ghana, and then she was taking 4 students to Ghana for this trip. So we started connecting, and I'm letting her know about my leadership development stuff. And come to find out, she worked at Clark University.
The same place you were. Oh my goodness. Stop it. And you just never knew her. You guys, your paths never crossed. Wow.
Never. I'm like, what is this? So like talking every day over Messenger. And then she was like, yeah, I'm going in July. I'm like, wait, I'm going in July as well, because that's when my Peace Corps service ends.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm.
we started talking, and like I ended up creating a leadership program for the guys, and literally met my co-founder now, Ruby, in Ghana for the first time in the airport.
Oh my gosh, this is so amazing.
So we in the airport, because like, and it was cool because we were bouncing ideas back and forth, like, man, how we gonna make this happen? How we gonna do this? I'm in Rwanda, she's in Massachusetts, and we're talking over Facebook Messenger. So to go from a Facebook post to like meeting a total stranger in Accra in Ghana in the airport because of visions aligning. We look back now, we're like, yo, this is crazy. Like no one does that.
This is divine. This is totally divine order. Like
Yeah.
this just does not happen. Like there's no way you can write this or manufacture this.
And like, ain't nobody going to another country to meet a stranger in the airport talking about trying to create a program. Like I look back now, like that was crazy. But 6 years later, we're on our 4th cohort.
Oh yes.
And we just partnered with the University of Delaware, and they're funding students to be a part of the program. We have a partnership with New Jersey City University. And so we're taking a group of approximately like 10 students to Ghana in July of this year.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, this is
Yeah.
good stuff.
And then next week, Friday, we're having a global leadership summit where we're bringing together both companies and institutions to really talk about opportunity from Peace Corps to the foreign service to if you want to work for a multinational corporation in another country, like what's the blueprint that you need to have to be able to execute at the high level? And how do you start from where you are to navigate this pipeline to be able to really create your own pathway for yourself where you can operate in your purpose? So we have Black men who are in leadership positions, from country director of Peace Corps to VPs of organizations, to really spit that inside game to our students. And we're trying to reach over 1,000 Black men.
And you will far exceed that and far past that. This is such good stuff. Oh my goodness. We're going to have to get you back for a part 2 because my goodness, your life is an adventure. I'm excited. I'm excited to have heard it. I mean, as if we couldn't love you anymore. Oh my goodness. You have so much to give, so much that you've offered already to the world. And so much just, I appreciate you taking time to tell your story. I appreciate you even taking the chance on yourself, right? Because I think that's the hardest thing, right? Betting on yourself and saying, you know what, I can do this. You know, in spite of what the naysayers say, in spite of where I grew up, in spite of what my parents have or don't have, in spite of the resources, somehow, some way, all of these things worked out. You got funding, you had mentors, you had support system. You know, you're just making connections in the airport. Like this is just bizarre and crazy, but again, at the same time, so profound and divine. I am so excited for everything that you have going on. I'm definitely keep me posted with everything you have going on with, you know, the summit, the partnerships, and how I can assist or how I can be a part of it, because this is massive, massive impact, massive change. And so excited for you. So tell the people where they can find you on social media and what you are going to be promoting right now in your business that you haven't already mentioned, because I know that you did mention some of the programs coming up.
Yeah. So, well, first, thank you for really creating this wonderful platform to share the stories of other people. Like you're doing powerful work. I'm honored to even be a guest on your show. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for that. Yeah, if you want to follow me, it is Empower for Greatness on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn by LeVar Thomas. If you want to learn more about Leaders of the Free World, on Instagram is LFW Leader, but I can provide you with the website is leadersofthefreeworld.org. And you
Okay.
can learn
Yeah, easy
about,
enough.
yeah, you can learn about the work that we're doing. If you're interested in internships or volunteering or just learning about updates on how to connect and you really want to be a part of this meaningful work, please connect with us. We have a newsletter. There's a lot we're doing right now, especially with the Global Leadership Summit and the pipeline that we're developing for organizations to really make the switch and start investing in our Black and Brown boys.
Yeah.
It's not talk about it, but be about it. So
Mm,
if you're interested in learning about
that
it,
part.
just connect.
Oh my goodness. We all heard it here. Oh my goodness. LeVar Thomas. He definitely dropped the mic on this one. I don't know what there's so much that you got out of this. I'm gonna need you to play it back, replay it, share it with your folks, share it with your young boys, share it with your loved ones, because this is talk about a breakthrough. I mean, he everything he's done has been breakthrough moments, have been breakthrough worthy. So that's why we're here. We're here to have this safe space where we can discuss the breakthrough map, how to navigate from breakdown to breakthrough, how to navigate from pain to purpose. All of the problems that he had, he said, oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give and find the solution. If it's not here already, I'm going to create the solution. So going from that pain to purpose and from your past to daring to live your greatest story, he is rewriting the narratives for our young people, and you can do it. You can do it too. So I appreciate him being here. Make sure you like and subscribe our Breakthrough Podcast across all social media platforms and all streaming platforms. And until next time, keep breaking through. Bye.